Everybody, video here for you today. Ancient history news video. Been doing this over the weekend. I'll get this uploaded probably Sunday or Monday. First story, let's go down to Germany here today. This is called Hohlfels Cave, right down here in this little valley down here. There's a museum down here. There's a cave where some pretty fascinating research has gone on. Let's just take a peek inside the cave here. Here's a look inside the cave. A mammoth tusk, 40,000 years old, was found in here. Let's just read about some research done on it. I've seen this story pop up on a few different websites, but here, this kind of fits in with videos I've done lately. It says, take a tusk, drill holes, weave a rope, and change the course of history. Scientists have discovered the tool our Stone Age ancestors used to manufacture twine, a milestone in technological development. Here's a mammoth tusk, 40,000 years old. It says the fragments found at Hohlfels Cave in Germany that scientists now recognize as a rope-making tool from 40,000 years ago. It says 40,000 years ago, a Stone Age toolmaker carved a curious instrument from a mammoth tusk, 20 centimeters long. The ivory strip has 4 holes drilled in, each lined with precisely cut spiral incisions. It says our Stone Age ancestors would have been able to feed plant fibers through the instrument's 4 holes, and by twisting it, create strong ropes and twines. The grooves round the holes would have helped keep the plant fibers in place. Here is a look inside the cave. It says similar devices have been found at many other sites once occupied by ancient humans in Europe, suggesting making and using rope had become widespread in the Upper Paleolithic or Late Old Stone Age. And they found some deer antlers with similar holes in it, and that were about 15,000 years old, so maybe this tradition lasted 25,000 years. Let's move on. Next story, let's go down to the Greek islands. Thought this was a pretty interesting story. Alanisnos, right down here off the east coast of Greece. About 2,500 years ago, a ship sank right off the shore here. Let's just read an article. Here's a story from August 1st. Peristora wreck, smile, you're on camera. But they have opened this up to recreational divers, this ancient shipwreck. It says much has been made of the liberation of Greece's underwater heritage after decades of restriction by the archaeological authorities, but they are taking few chances as the ancient Peristora shipwreck is open to recreational scuba divers on Monday, August 3rd. So an underwater museum lying 20 to 30 meters underwater here says it is believed the ship sank during a storm around 4:25, and here they have a little video on this website, and I will leave this link below, but it shows divers here. You must be accompanied by a guide when you go diving down here. There are cameras monitoring the site, so you're not going to be able to take anything or do anything suspicious down here because you are being monitored. But you can explore a shipwreck that is about 2,500 years old. That is very cool. The site will be open for diving till around the beginning of October. Here's another look at those amphora vessels found at the bottom of the Aegean here. And here's the coast area where you go out to the dive site from. This shipwreck in the Aegean Sea was originally discovered in the early 1990s, but the ship was carrying these amphora vessels, large wine vessels here, scattered around the shipwreck site today. Let's move on. Next story, let's talk about our old buddy Zahi Hawass. This story was sent to me by about half a dozen people overnight Saturday. Egyptologist Zahi Hawass scientifically refutes Musk's false claims pyramids were built by aliens. And I wasn't going to make an individual video about this, not worth it, but I'll talk about it here. Now, this is just funny. I mean, talking about triggering people, Elon Musk is a very smart person, just puts out a tweet, and Zahi flips out. That is classic. Now, I'd much rather talk about research or lost history, but I'll talk about this since it was sent to me. It says August 1st, 2020, the founder, CEO, and chief designer of SpaceX and technology mogul Elon Musk claimed on Friday through a tweet he posted on his official Twitter account a false theory claiming the pyramids were built by aliens and that Egypt's King Ramses II was from outer space. Here is Elon Musk's tweet from Friday. Aliens built the pyramids of... Now, that is brilliant. Sometimes you put stuff out there just to see what people's reaction is to it. But he obviously had motives for doing this, and I think he's pretty smart. This is a response from Zahi Hawass to American billionaire Elon Musk. What you said about the pyramids is completely hallucination. The pyramids are built by Egyptians, and I will tell you quickly the evidence. Number one, all the tombs around the Great Pyramid mention Khufu Pyramid, the king himself, and also inside the Great Pyramid there are inscriptions telling us about the workmen and the gangs who built the pyramids. Elon Musk is having a little fun here. Zahi Hawass gets triggered. He starts spewing stuff. Now, can you really back that up, Zahi? Is there Egyptian stuff inside the Great Pyramid? Who is the one that should be refuted here? Let's move on. Next story, let's go down to Northern Ireland. This is a place I was unfamiliar with till last week when this story popped up. But right down here, there's a massive circular enclosure here, a henge, kind of a mound built up here. This is called the Navan Fort right here. That's what it's called. But if we just back out a little here, this area right down here, seems there might be another henge right in this field right down here. That's what it appears to me right down here. This is a very impressive henge structure. There's a ditch here, and it seems to be built up, and then the mounds are right on top of that. Pretty unique here, but this is about 300 meters in diameter, so very large structure here. Let's just read. This is the Irish Times. I will leave all these links below. But it says archaeologists believe they have uncovered evidence of Iron Age temples and residences of early kings of Ulster at Navan Fort. Academics from Northern Irish, Scottish, and German institutes say they have found indications of a vast temple complex and ceremonial center of prehistoric Europe, as well as the first evidence of continued medieval activity during the period when the Navan Fort was associated with the kingship of Ulster. It says the research was conducted using non-invasive survey led by Patrick Gleeson, senior lecturer in archaeology at the School of the Natural and Built Environment at Queen's University Belfast, and his team of colleagues from the University of Aberdeen and the German Archaeological Institute of Frankfurt. Says the discovery was made using remote sensing technology and geophysical survey rather than more time-consuming and destructive excavation, but it seems they are realizing how many periods of time this place was used. But here is a look. What was found here? A baboon skull was found here. What is the explanation for that? Here's an article from 2014, Barbary ape skull from Navan Fort. This is radiocarbon dated to be about 2,300 years old. That is certainly a mystery, and here's the way they think it looked in medieval times with the wooden palisade or fence around it here on the top mound. That's a pretty interesting sight. Let's move on. Final story, let's go down to Texas, Plainview, Texas. And this relates to videos I made in the spring relating to bison hunts coming from the end of the Younger Dryas period. Not sure exactly where this site is, but an ancient bison killing ground dating back, they say, about 10,000 years. Let's just read. This is the Amarillo.com. It says the Caprock Chronicles, the Plainview bison kill site. It says this statue of a bison antiquus at the Lubbock Lake site is typical of the bison at the Plainview site. Bison antiquus were about 1.5 times larger than modern bisons. Now they do have a sign at the site here. It says the first of the distinctive type of early man dart points was found by a 15-year-old here in 1941 on Running Water Draw. Quarry workers uncovered a fossil bone deposit, which was noted by scientists surveying the geology of the plains. The next year, a team of archaeologists from the University of Texas, including a Dr. E.R. Sellards and Dr. Alex Krieger, excavated the site and found 26 man-made artifacts, including several of the points in association with the remains of about 100 extinct bison, about twice the size as the modern species. The Long Flint Point was then named for the site. It says the bone bed probably resulted from the primitive hunting method of stampeding bison over a cliff. And that I talked about at a lot of different sites, one in, I believe, Idaho, another one in Texas. Is that what they were doing? Or was there some other reason that all these got deposited in one area? That's a question I ask. It says historical and archaeological information on the site remains difficult to pin down, associated with the controversy and disagreement, and often presented in jargon-rich prose understood best by geoarchaeologists, paleontologists, and paleoindian specialists. Archaeological evidence suggests that the Paleo-Indian people about 10,000 years ago, and they just like to round it down to that date. They need to get a little more specific, I think. It says the ancient hunters either drove a now extinct species of bison, which stood about a third larger than modern bison, over a small steep cliff at the site, or trapped the larger mammals in a marshy section of running water draws, then meandering perennial stream. Or did an ancient flood deposit all these mammals and artifacts in this area? I wonder. Here's the site today. I guess people want some more historical markers at the site. There is one plaque, one standing little monument here. That was a pretty interesting story. Hill site from, they say, about 10,000 years ago. People, or a time period we know very little about. This is just one of many sites in ancient America where there are massive deposits of bones in an area that was watery at one time. Do we have this story right? Well, I wonder. Those are 5 ancient history news stories for you. I'll have another video for you probably tomorrow, maybe later tonight. Hope you thought that was interesting. You all have a very nice day.